Hey Harry, hope you're well, or hey Thor, should I say? And I felt like I shouted then, sorry. Really short update from you. Is this what's going to happen now I've moved you to a Wednesday? I'm going to get these really short updates. But it sounds like it was just a bit of a hectic week. You've got a lot on your plate, a lot on your mind. And I would like to kind of dig into that and make sure that everything's okay on your end. Obviously you said you kind of took Dublin, kind of took it as kind of an intuitive estimation and not formally tracking weekend, which sounds fine. Sounds like you probably ended up slightly under eating rather than kind of eating sufficiently, whichever way it goes, if you overate or underate, it's not what we wanted. So it just is what it is, and we just need to plow on forward, get back to the plan, which I think is absolutely fine. Obviously you said kind of training felt pretty hard when you came back after that. And I think it's whenever we get out of our routine, our habits, lifestyles can just disrupt things. And this is why, like, I can understand where people are like, these high volume training programs, they make no sense if you haven't got everything in check. And sometimes these little events, like going away on the weekend, they can impact things. And that's why we auto-regulate your training volume with the reps in reserve, and we don't just kind of assume that you're a machine and can just do stuff. So if you are finding training hard, like, just keep your reps in reserve where they should be. Keep in mind that kind of what's happened has happened. The weekend is kind of throwing you off a little bit. Don't feel bad about it. You can overload and progress in so many ways, and you're carrying that fatigue, and we'll be able to move forward from here. And it's just kind of like, just like if you have an off day of training, it's like an off day of nutrition. Like, if you just don't feel great one day, it will come back in future. Just get back to the plan, get back into your routine. Your body will kind of start ticking over again, and it will fall into place. Obviously, combining kind of the stress from work, the stress from the weekend, and then poorer sleep, that's all going to impact training. So it's really over the next few days, and whenever these things happen, just try and kind of get right back into your usual habits and routines, so that kind of you don't fall into a bad habit or a bad cycle. It's kind of like anything. If you end up doing something every day, it makes it so much easier to always do it. But when you fall out of that habit, that routine, it then just screws you over. I know for myself, like I find it when I get into dieting, I find I get habits that are like, you have those leaner habits, those leaner living habits, like you start walking around more, you start drinking diet sodas more, you start having salads with every meal, and then as you get into mass, you're like, I kind of don't need these habits to stick around. They're probably not the best thing right now, and so you just let those go. So just get back into your usual good sleeping habits and everything there, because you know how good you felt when you had that. You feel like Thor, right? So that's that. So nutrition next week is going to stay level. We only got one way in, kind of, and I very much view kind of, when you're in a massing phase, it's like you're setting rice to boil. You just put the rice in, you put the water in, you leave it to boil. You might check now and then that it's not boiling over, but for the most part, you leave it and you don't check it until it's done. And you check the end result. How good is it? Like, what lessons can you learn? Do you need more water? Blah, blah, blah. With kind of fat loss, it's like microwave rice. You can check that after a minute, see how it's going. And you don't want to kind of leave it in there for anything too long, because it could completely ruin it. And if you don't put it in for any time at all, it's not even going to be warm. So yeah, with your massing phase, like, very much, I think it's one of those where we just don't need as much data. We don't need to be as anal, and you're better off just leaving it and letting it go. So, something I did want to mention is, obviously we're only in week 3 right now, and we're planned 5 weeks. Above your deload, you'll see there's a mesocycle feedback, which is basically the sort of questions I normally ask you for feedback for anyway, but it kind of puts it in a formal process. So I've got that there for you. It just makes my life, and I think probably your life, easier as well. So you can just fill that in kind of during your deload week when you have got some more time anyway. I think it just formalizes that process quite nicely. So that's that. And I don't think there's anything else. I think otherwise we're in a good place. And this is, yeah, that's everything I've got for you, Harry. So hope that is all okay, and I will talk with you soon.